Okay, you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jenna Blacker,
And I'm Bianca Reina.
and this is a How to Horse Hustle Morning Mystic Show. And today we're talking with Christine Volden, and we are going to talk about receiving and really how her psychic gifts came online and how she works with them to help people with greater receiving, being, and knowing themselves. So, Christine, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you. So great to be here. And I just want to say the technical issues, right? Like sometimes when we're talking about big topics, the
Yeah,
energy gets intense. So I think that's great validation
thank
for what
you.
you guys are doing.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for
thank
saying
you.
that and acknowledge. I mean, we are breaking paradigms down and we're moving a ton of energy. I got everybody getting their crystals out. So, I mean, I have to tell
I
you every
know. Yeah.
That's right, right?
Right?
Let's do this.
Christine, one of the things I read in your bio and I thought was really interesting is you were and knew you were a psychic from day one in your life. You were just terrified to let anybody else know that you were, is how I read
Yeah.
it. Do you want to start there and talk a little bit about your psychic gifts really coming out into the world and how you're using them today? Let's,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I
right.
was I was terrified. And honestly, I didn't know like everyone wasn't like that. And it's so interesting because like I have kids now and when you're a kid, you kind of just naturally believe things and then you get programmed by all of the people around you, whether it's parents, school, churches, organizations, and then you're told like, "Oh no, that's not right," or "That can't be right." And so my psychic gift has also always been knowingness or claircognizant. And that's when you just know things. You don't know why you know them, but you just know them. And so I just knew these things, and I could feel people's energy. And I was just like, why does not and everybody else think that person's creepy? Or I would just know I was meant to do things. And then as I got older, I would have people tell me like how do you know that, or like why are you so confident? And people would think I was arrogant, or and I was actually really shy. And I was just like and then when they would ask me like, well, how do you know, I'd be like, I don't know. And people would be like, well, do you have proof? I'm like, no, but I like, and so
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
second guessed myself. So for a long time, like I didn't think it was being psychic. And then it wasn't honestly until I think I was doing some therapy, like I think I was doing EMDR or something. And I was like, you look at these past memories and I was like, oh my God, I really was psychic, like even back then, because I didn't even
Hmm.
realize it until more recently. So it's been a really interesting journey for me. I mean, I've had many, many lifetimes as kind of like a psychic type mystical person. I had lifetimes where it would like I abused it, I was hurt for it. So there's like a lot of reluctance in this lifetime to kind of accepting it. And I would say I
Yeah.
really didn't fully accept it until like the last like 5 years or so.
Yeah,
So
and
it's been
I
quite a
think a lot of
journey.
people can relate, and that's really why we like to share a lot of the people's journeys that come on this show because, many a times that you're working in corporate, you're living your life, you're really feeling like unfulfilled, and then you realize that you're kind of operating in life a little bit differently than everyone else. And of course,
Yep.
everyone that comes to, that congregates around our show, there's a lot of light healers, a lot of
Mm.
star seeds around here, but we all kind of have this underlying theme. And I think that what we find is that it's very empowering and inspiring to hear some of your stories, to hear how these gifts come online and how how you may have clumsily operated through them, but how today you're speaking with us, as an expert. And I think that's really inspiring. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
some of that navigation?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say, like, I would say every year from the time I was like a young adult, and I would say every year, every 6 months, I'd have like a really, really intense, like spiritual experience. Like I'd see, I'd have a
Hmm.
dream or I'd be in a massage and I'd like hear words or and I would just think like, oh, that was a coincidence. And I think a lot of people do this, right? You're just
Sure.
like, because if you ask people, have you ever, felt, a person who's passed away's energy? Like everyone has a story,
Yes.
right? But
Mhm.
we're always
Yes.
like, oh, it's just a coincidence. So I had all these coincidences for years. And finally, they added up so much that I was like, this is not like, I cannot ignore this anymore. And I had a friend who was a psychic. And I kept telling her, like, this was a real turning point. I kept saying, like, there's some kind of energy in my son's room. And then she picked up on it and she was like, it's a young boy. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, and I added another detail. And she was like, yes, and I was like, wait, how do I know this? And she's like, you're so psychic. And it was really funny because that was like, I needed a little validation, I think. And then I did some training and some courses, and then I was like, okay, I got a handle on it now. I can I can deal with it. But the other thing is, my professional life, I worked in sales. I worked in technology sales for 15, 20 years. And so for a long time I did sales coaching, and and so I had my business website and my psychic website. And as you guys know, because I was so late to give you information, I literally just integrated this into my website, because I'm like, all of the people who came to see my sales information were already very spiritually, very awake people who loved that part of me. And even, I was not accepting it. So really, like, this is like a whole new level of self-acceptance for me, which
I
I
I
love
think
love
this.
was
it.
really
I
important.
love that we get to witness this in the real time, because I too have I don't want to say suffered. I have a recovering really corporate America, definitely did the sales world. Felt like I had to keep them separate, and just recently updated my LinkedIn. Isn't that crazy?
Hmm.
Updated my LinkedIn because we had a lot of promotions coming through there, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is like a whole new identity for me, even though we've been running the show
Hmm.
for like almost, over a year now.
Years.
So it's
Right.
been amazing transformation, but it really kind of integrates like who, everything that we talk about.
Hmm.
Be you, be authentic, be
Yeah.
that. And now, because back then, 10 years ago, it wasn't always this easy to talk about this kind of
No.
stuff. You went and
No,
searched
yeah.
intuition, it was almost taboo. You couldn't find it almost. I know that's weird to say,
Yeah.
but I remember the day.
Oh,
And
yeah,
and
absolutely.
so, we get to kind of be the pioneers for this, and just an invitation for more people to step up and say, okay, I am having experiences and I do trust my intuition and I do
Hmm.
have my psychic and channel. So can you talk a little bit about the channeling that coming on board?
Yeah, the channeling was like kind of a new thing for me, really. And it was really
Yeah.
interesting because you know, I channel different beings. Mostly I work with these beings from Sirius B, which is some people are familiar with it, some people are not. It's a star. And it's interesting. I was doing these classes where I do kind of I don't know. It's not really remote viewing or astral projection. It's kind of like a combination of both, but I can clairvoyantly travel to places in space and time. And I am in
Hmm.
this group where we do this. And so we went to Sirius B, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. I didn't want to leave. I'm like, this is my home. These are my
Oh,
people. And it was just like amazing. And then for, I would say, a good 6 months, they kept calling me back. And this is like a whole other thing I was scared of. I was like, why do they want me to go there? What's going on? Like, I don't know if I want to do that, and
right.
it was just so interesting. And so then I kept having these dreams, and kept waking up like, I know I'm meant to do something, and I would keep forgetting.
Mm.
And then I don't know, I had this experience all of a sudden where I was like in meditation, and then I was like, oh my God, I keep telling them I'm going to go back and I don't. So, the universe works so perfectly. I happened to meet a friend who had this amazing story about like healing himself. And I was like, you know what? Do you want to just come with me? I'm going to bring you to Serious Feet. I never like even, I didn't even know if I could do this, but I was like, let me just teach you. And I was literally in the parking lot waiting for my daughter to finish swimming practice. It was like I had like 30 minutes, and I was like, I don't know why. Let's just try it right now. So I'm on the phone with him, and we go there, and they do this whole healing for him because the beings there, they heal a lot with sound and light and different types of energy. It's really amazing, but it's also very practical. Like, they give advice that we can use here, and they've always told me we have everything we need. Like, I heard a little bit of your last listener, and she, like, everything she said totally made sense to me. But we have everything we need here naturally without pharmaceuticals to heal every part of our body.
Yes.
And then there's some things they're just mental like programming that we have to redo. But anyway, so I brought him there, and I was like, this is weird. Let me try it again. So then I started bringing other people there, and then just started channeling. And I realized actually, again, that I had been channeling for a long time.
Mm.
I created this sales class called the Quiet Selling Method, which is all about asking and receiving. And I didn't realize until recently, I was like, oh, I channeled that info because I
Uh-huh.
remember it just came through. And I just thought, well, I have a lot of experience with selling. Like, I just know this stuff. That's what I was thinking. And like, that's kind of true. But more than that, it literally came down as like part one, part two, part three, part four. And it was so clear. And looking back, and I was like, oh, I channeled that information. So
Hmm.
I think you guys saw me. That was the first live channeling summit I had done, which was really amazing. And then I've worked with some other people and channeled some other beings too. But yeah, it's really fascinating for me as well, because I'm like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Blink, and
Yeah.
it's actually what you're talking about when yes, you have some education, but then there's this whole other, when you have a little bit of education, this whole other gut side of you. I think that's kind of the words that he used, like takes
Yeah.
Probably.
over. That
Yeah.
intuitive gut is what he
Yes.
talked more about it than
Yeah.
kind of the psychic and the field awareness. But I thought that
Yeah.
it's really, really interesting how you kind of put that together in that way. It's almost like you're the reluctant psychic.
Yeah, I mean, I am
Mhm.
because I'm also
Kind of
very
cool.
practical and grounded. And I think that's really, really
Yeah.
important. And I always say,
Yeah.
like, I love
We say
doing
that all the
readings for
time.
people. But even more, I love to teach people how to get in touch with their own intuition. That's my mission. And I'm
Hmm.
super clear on that, that I
Hmm.
want people to be able to get in touch with their own intuition themselves because it's our gift. Like everyone was given
Yes.
that gift. There's no one that's not psychic. I can tell you that 100%.
Yes.
And it's just that people need to get in touch with that part of themselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
we say that all the time here, every single time. Two things, the groundedness, having those really inspired action, taking action, and then also just you are your own best guru, right? You have your own,
Yes.
and it's what's needed. And this is the reason why we have so many different types of speakers that come on here because what one can receive is different from, we're all different, and what one can receive from each other is different, right? So someone might
Hmm.
be able to receive from you and really turn on their gifts by hearing what you're saying today, or with working with you one on one. And this is really the ultimate thing. And I always say that it's really going to be our true north that's going to really help us navigate tomorrow, because things are changing so fast. So we have to be able to internally use our own guidance system in order to truly traverse what is going on, and how to know our own truth, what's true for us. We just talked about that as far as like,
Yeah.
even as far as foods, right?
Right.
But for making decisions, and even for how where we put our home, what's in our home, what we do for a vocation, and how we bring our children. Wow. I guess all
Yeah.
that was
Everything
coming through
just
right
kind of
now. But
came
so can you
together.
tell us how you work with people to kind of to bring their gifts online and to start trusting themselves? What is the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I have a couple different programs that I run. And really, what I do, when I do a reading with someone, what I'm looking for is like how they manage their energy. And I have a program called Energy Mastery where I do that because there's a lot of, we're all programmed differently and we all have different gifts and different strengths. And I always say, whenever you think you have a weakness or, some people would call it a disability, it's never that. It's always made up in a different area, 100%. So I'm like, no one
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
a deficit. They just have, sometimes what they would call an imbalance because they don't recognize the gift that came with it. Right. So I
Mhm.
look at how people run their energy. And there's a couple things that affect it.
And
Number
we can
one,
take some callers today. Are you good with that?
oh, yeah,
Okay,
totally.
great. So
Um,
as she's talking, go ahead and cue your question up in your head and just
Raise your
raise your
hand.
hands. And Christine, go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing is like other people's energy affecting us, right? So some people are very highly sensitive. There's this term highly sensitive person. Not everyone identifies that, and everyone's sensitive in different ways. So I look at like, oh, is another person's energy affecting you? Another one is just programming. Like I was saying before, we're all programmed, especially about money and receiving, right? Women are so
Mhm.
good, not and men too, are so good at giving. So often we're not great at receiving. And so I look at like, what is that? Is that societal programming? Is that media programming? Is that
Oh,
childhood
interesting.
programming? Is that from a past life?
Wow.
And a
Good.
lot of times it's a combination of all of these things. Sometimes there's a guide that's blocking you from receiving because in a past life something happened and they came in to support you in some way, usually in some way for survival, and that's still blocking you, right? I just did a reading a couple days ago where this happened with someone, and I saw they had this, old guide who in this lifetime was really protecting her from, like a really intense emotional tragedy. But to protect her, he had to block her heart chakra, and your heart chakra is all about receiving. That's how
Yeah.
you manifest, that's how you receive, right? And just for her emotional sanity, this guide had blocked this part of her. And when we looked at it in the reading, we were like, okay, you're ready to let that go. And
Mm.
so, what I teach people is, hey, how do you identify that for yourself? Because I can help them identify it. So, I do a form of meditation called embodied meditation. And it's more like giving you
Cool.
visualizations. Like I'll show you, okay, here's how you ground yourself. A lot of people know how to do that, but here's how you create a mock up and manifest it, right? And own it from your heart chakra and your seventh chakra and send it out into the universe. And here's how you set your boundaries or separate yourself from another person who's affecting your energy. So it's a lot of different tools that I teach through meditation and visualization. And I teach people how to do them themselves. So I kind of walk them through the steps. First you have to learn how to ground, then you have to learn boundaries. Then you get to some of the good stuff like
Mhm.
seniority, manifesting, working with guides and all that kind of stuff. So that, I mean, it's kind of a long
Cool.
way to explain it,
No,
but that's
no,
It's
this
essentially
is
what
great.
I
great.
do.
Great. I love the details that you go into. It's really good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Great. Let's go ahead and take a caller and we can just, is there a way that you want them to say, here's my question? Do that you
No,
need a
whatever they say
name?
is fine.
Okay, perfect. All right. MK, I'm gonna bring you up first. Go ahead and say hello to Christine.
Hello, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. I'm in the bed today. I had an injection on yesterday, having a lot of sciatic nerve pain. But
Okay.
I also did have my pain management appointment this morning with my therapist. And so she's kind of placed me on this whole of having an adjustment order disorder at this time. So I've taken time off of work. I'm trying to manage this, like I said, this chronic pain issue. But I know
Mm,
I'm a channeler, and I know a lot of
mm.
times that all of the energy that I get into this mode of I clear and everything. I do all of that, so I'm able to clear. I am also a Reiki master. So it's just still that I fall back into this. So my question is there anything that's blocking? I just also had an immersion of a priestess initiation, just came back from Egypt. So I had a lot going on. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I can feel your energy. It is intense. Like the minute you got on, I could feel all of it around you. You have so many guys working with you. I would say, when we have a lot of stuff like body issues, what we want to look at is our third and fourth chakras, right? Our third is our power center. It's how we run our energy through our body. And our fourth is really, our heart chakra is what connects our body chakras with our, upper chakras, our divine chakras. So that's where the soul lives. That's the integration, right? And your body being connection. So your connection between your third and your fourth is what causes a lot of body issues. So what I would say could work on is really feeling safe in your body. Like a lot of times we come up with these things because, you know, our body and being are fighting, right? So I saw this recently in myself that my being doesn't, or my soul doesn't totally trust like my body, right? Because I don't always take care of it. I've done stupid things in the past, like bodies die, they get natural disasters, right? So, that like I had to do a lot of work on my lower chakras for second and third to really try to clear out these past lives and these beliefs so that my being could really feel comfortable. And
Mhm.
then, same way, sometimes our body doesn't totally trust the being because they're like, the being's really the one in control. And so it's really making sure those two work together. So I would say for you, like, working on your heart chakra would be beautiful, but also, in our body, taking in a lot of earth energy, right? The earth, we're on this earth to heal our bodies, right? And that's
Mhm.
our connection. And the earth, she's so beautiful and so powerful. So, yeah, really, I always say the best thing you could do is put your bare feet on the ground outside. Imagine your feet chakras opening up, bringing in all that earth energy into your body. because Mother Nature is like, I mean, she's so magical, and just bringing that in and just, again, receiving it. But you're very, very powerful. I mean, I can feel you. I can feel all the guides around you supporting you. So, yeah, I would just like work on those things. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you
And
so
Okay.
much.
let me just
Yeah,
add,
yeah.
since she can't really stand up and go outside right now,
Mhm.
I just want you guys to know that it's just sometimes the energy, space, and consciousness of bringing that in and reminding yourself that you're a part of the earth too,
Mm-hmm.
when you can't physically do
Mm-hmm.
something.
Well, yeah, let me just add to that. So, one of the
Deeper.
things I've learned from the beings in Sirius B is you can just imagine anything, and it is just as powerful as doing that.
I
Yes.
got the
So,
vision when you
MK,
were
if you
saying
you don't
that.
have to go outside, and sorry, I should have said that, but you can just imagine yourself doing that, and it will have the same effect. I did a reading for someone, and they were saying like, "Oh, you need to drink pineapple juice." And the person that I was doing the reading, she's like, "Oh, I take this one medication, and it interferes." And they were like, "No, no, you just have to imagine it, and it will have the same effect." So that's our power of visualization, that it is just
Something
as impactful.
really magical is happening here with the Sirius B channel, because
Hmm.
not just Bianca said it out loud, but I also received it, and I'm kind of curious how many other people in the chat
Oh
received
yeah.
it. But as soon as you said it, she
Mhm.
saw it and I saw it
But it
too.
was before you were even saying it right now. So
Hmm.
it was
Yeah.
you were alluding to it a second, like about 3 or 4 minutes ago. And I saw the vision of you can use visualization to connect with Earth, but you didn't say it. You didn't get there yet. And but I got the whole vision. So she's right. There is
Yeah,
something really magical that you do here with
Sirius
Sirius. And
B.
so it
Yeah,
definitely is sending visions and full on communications, telepathic
yeah.
communications through
Yeah.
to us. So wondered if anyone else is receiving that on
Dana
the
said,
chat.
I
Thank
knew
you.
it.
Ah,
And Joe said, I got it.
Yeah, I felt it come in right away
Cool.
too.
They
And
said,
that's
very
the
cool.
beautiful that's the
Yes,
very
beautiful thing
cool.
that I think
yes.
people should realize. We're always being healed, like all the time. There's all these beings around us, and they're working with us in our dream space. They're working with us, around us. I mean, sometimes I'll wake up for a nap and I'll literally feel like these tingles, and I'll be like, oh my God, thank you.
Oh,
Like,
I love that.
like it's happening to us all the time. And some of us do see it or feel it. But even if you're not feeling it or seeing it, it's still happening.
I know.
So
I
Yeah.
I
know.
think that's really important for people to recognize. Like we have so much support around us. It's just amazing if we were all to see how much there really is.
Yeah.
I
I want to keep
know.
Thank
playing with this.
you.
This is exciting. Dana, do you have something that you want to add? Go ahead.
Unmute.
Unmute. There you
I
go.
just have a question. I not too long ago um, realized I had a connection to Sirius B, and I was just wondering if you can expand on that. I don't have any details.
I do too.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, tell
great.
me
Thank
more
you, Dana.
about about what your experience was that
Well, it's actually was just a mention in my birth chart. I've had
oh,
other
okay.
connections, but that one I didn't have. That's the only one that I really don't know about.
Ah, okay. Do you have an affinity for water? Like
Yes.
oceans or yeah. So one of the best ways to kind of get in touch is to like kind of be like if you're near an ocean. I don't know if you're on the coast, but if you're near an ocean, it's really helpful around dolphins, whales, and if not, again, just imagining them is really, really powerful. And just like, like they're so easy to access. I find like I work with a lot of different being groups. To me, they're like especially accessible. Like if you say, hey, like I want to come visit, and just say that before you go to sleep or something, like they'll bring you there in your dream space. I mean, they're just really easy to work with and really accessible. And if you already have that affinity, yeah, just connecting with them. Sometimes, it's more about you receiving. I know that was what they told me. They were like, you just had to be ready. Because I was so resistant, like, why do you keep calling me? Like, I'm so freaked out. So if you're open to it, yeah, just ask them, just say, ask them to give you signs or ask them what the next step is, because for everyone it's different. Um, but yeah, I mean, even if you could go to any ocean and just be in the salt water, even if you just put
I'll
your
be
feet in, it's
I'll
pretty
be in a
amazing.
couple of weeks. I'll be in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Gulf, yeah, and I'm
Oh,
going to Florida.
perfect.
So I'll be in the Gulf in June.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely just put your feet in the water and like set your intention, like, hey, I want to connect.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
there's something about I just got this information. There's something about our water here that matches the frequency there because it's a water planet. So it's
Mhm.
almost like the same energy in our ocean
H2O.
water.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. That's so funny because Leonka and I have both self-identified as water
Mhm.
creatures. And
Oh, awesome.
and when you said that, I was like, I wonder if that's we have a component or an element of it, and that's why we
Funny.
got that so clearly.
Yeah,
Or it might
yeah. I
just
was a
be that,
mermaid.
Me
right?
too.
You
Me
kind
too.
of like you
I
might have been.
almost wore my mermaid necklace today. It says my
Oh
name is Little
my God.
Mermaid. So
I
funny.
thought I was more like
Yeah.
a water dragon.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I was a water dragon too.
Yeah,
But it's
right.
so funny. Yeah. And I think you'll know because you can communicate with dolphins too.
Hmm.
There's a beach near me. It's called Stinson Beach. It's in Marin outside the Bay Area, but there's all these dolphins. And I remember one day, they always come at like kind of like 4 or 5 o'clock. And I was amazed because someone was like, oh, people don't communicate with dolphins or it's so rare. And I literally was communicating with them and I was like,
Hmm.
oh, that's awesome.
Hey.
So
Yeah,
I think, yeah, if you guys try to communicate with I feel like anyone who's, yeah, has a connection to Sirius can do like dolphin communication.
Oh, fun. I
yeah,
have to go see
Yeah,
some.
someone said
exactly.
Lumeria. So there's definitely a super uh, strong connection with Lumeria and Sirius B. I mean,
Okay.
there's a whole history. I could tell you all about it, and there's like
Ooh,
the
we'll
Dogon
have to go
tribe
be
and
back for
all this
that.
stuff.
I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
There's because there's definitely people on Earth who are inhabited different tribes who have a direct connection to Sirius and kind of hold their information sacred. And part of it was in Lemuria, and then it was in Egypt, and yeah,
Well, can
there's
we
all kinds
just
of
dive
stuff.
into it just a little bit?
Yeah.
And what about Atlantis? Do you also
Oh,
have,
yes,
because
yes.
it seems like that's kind of a watery place too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Atlantis, there's so many parallels I just want to say to Atlantis right now.
Yes.
We are living in a time where we're kind of relearning these lessons, especially around technology, because what happened
Yes.
in Atlantis, they went a
Yes.
little nuts with their technology and it got way out of hand, and they were doing all these hybrid experiments
Yeah.
with people and animals. And then, yeah, like it kind of went wrong. And so I kind of see AI as this like beautiful gift, but it can be, used in the wrong ways.
Mhm.
And I see a very big parallel to Atlantis now.
Yes.
But yeah, a lot of people originally came from Lumeria, right? And there were Syrian like beings, right? There were people who were kind of like gods on earth, right? Or I think people called them gods, and they were with us, walking amongst us. And then, after that time, after Lumeria kind of like dissolved, a lot of those beings went to Atlantis. And then after that, the people who were surviving, a chunk of them went to ancient Egypt. So there is like a thread in all of those groups for sure. And I would say the Lumerian people who identify with Lumeria often have like a really strong draw to Hawaii, which I've had. That's where I saw like my mermaid lifetime and all of that stuff. And then, yeah, ancient Egypt, Atlantis, all of that stuff.
I love it. Wow. It's so funny. And as you talk, I feel like I'm having visuals as it goes as you talk. I almost feel like my channel is coming through as you talk, which makes me feel like there's some connection there. It's
I
really
can tell that
Yeah.
it's a really interesting conversation for me because I feel like I'm like having a little bit of a lot going on.
I can feel that in your
Yeah.
voice. It's
Yeah.
funny. How about, do you want to take Jay? And
Yes.
also, did you want to do some live channeling today?
Yeah, for the group.
Sure, I can.
Okay, great.
Great.
Let's answer Jay's question, then
And
we'll
then we'll go into
go
that.
into a little
Yeah, I have
activation. Sounds
something told
good.
me to ask you.
Perfect. All right, Jay, you're up.
Hi, it's just inspirational just listening to you and being around your energy. It's just
Oh, thank you.
lovely, lovely. Um, I just want to, I've tried to develop my intuition for a long, long, long time. And I asked one guy, I said, what do you think my blocks are? And he said, my trauma. So,
Mm.
yeah, wanted to get your
Yeah.
thoughts.
I mean, what I would say is our traumas are a gateway to our intuition, to be honest. I think that's one of the best ways to access it. Like, and for a lot of people, the more trauma they've experienced in their life, the more it connects them because that's their safe place. What I always tell people is really, and I think there's a common misconception that, our third eye is in the front of our forehead, or yeah, it's like the front of our forehead, right? And people, even in yoga class, they're like, touch your third eye. This is not your third eye. This is your analyzer in the front of your forehead. Your third eye is in the center of your head, right? It's about 2 inches behind your eyes. So what happens is a lot of times people try to meditate or focus their energy on their analyzer instead of their third eye. And so of course it's like really hard to get into your intuition because your analyzer is like, we're trying to figure out math problems, it's like that conscious human part of us that is very, very useful in some instances, like accounting or, like figuring out which groceries you need or to make a certain recipe. It is not useful for getting in touch with your own intuition, right? So to get in touch with your intuition, you really want to connect to that space. I call it the command center, 2 inches behind your eyes. And that is a place where there's no judgment, there's no worry, there's no jealousy, there's no hate. It's just complete neutrality. And you're not there if you start trying to figure it out or you try to start, worrying about it or you're thinking you're doing it wrong, right? And it takes a lot of practice, but I think that that's kind of what I was picking up for you, Jay, to really just focus on your sixth chakra. And it takes time, right? You could practice just spending 2 minutes a day. I always just say imagine like a golden golf ball in the center of your head and expand it about to the size of a grapefruit and move out anyone else's energy, and
Mhm.
then just try to sit there for a couple moments, and just try to do that 2 minutes every day, and you can spend more and more time there. But what I was saying about the trauma is like, you know, people don't like it when I say this, but like all of our traumas are here for us to learn, even the really, really tough ones, right? So, and I know it's so easy to say this, but to look at like, hey, what is my lesson here? Um, Instead of like kind of pushing that pain out, right? Just embodying it and being like, hey, this was a gift for me, which I know it's hard when it's super traumatic, but just looking at, hey, what was the lesson for me? And that's why I say if you can get in that neutral space, you don't judge yourself. Because I've had a ton of trauma too. And it wasn't until I learned how to be in that center of my head that I could look at it without judgment. And I had so much more grace for myself,
Mhm.
right? And grace for the people who were involved in those traumas, right? Instead of looking at myself as a victim, for example, I saw like, okay, I chose this and here's the lesson I wanted to choose. And so instead of going into victimhood or kind of like being angry at the people that were part of my lesson, I could see it with neutrality. So it all kind of starts with being in that neutral space, because it's really like, for me at least, it was like I was just judging myself all the time,
Yep.
especially around the traumas. I was just like, because I was at the place where I was like, oh, I had a part of it. But instead of just saying I had a part of it, I was like, it's all my fault. And it wasn't, right? It was a lesson there. And I was able to look at it for myself without judgment, which I think is more important than anything.
Yeah.
Does
I
that
think,
help, Jay?
yeah, I think that as a kid, I had to have strategy. And so I stayed there as
Yeah.
a survival tool because I
Yeah.
was living with four narcissists, like malignant
Hmm.
narcissists. So it's hard to unlearn that strategy, even though it's not needed now as much as it was then. I still keep doing it, just the habit.
Can
Right.
I
Yeah.
do a quick clearing on this, like a itty bitty teeny tiny one? Because I'm curious, how much of the narcissistic entrainment do you have that's causing you to be a control freak around this? And everything that is, would we all destroy and uncreate? And take a
Yeah.
breath. And I just wanted to kind of open that awareness, not just for Jay, but for all of us, because if we are around an inner circle where they have a certain point of view, whatever the point of view is, insane righteousness or something like that, then we think that we are that. We think if they're all carrots, we think we're a carrot too. So sometimes just the awareness to go, wait, I'm no longer a carrot and I won't entrain to this carrothood. Um,
Sometimes it's hard to disidentify from
yes,
something.
It
correct.
is. And
But
that's
and that's
exactly
what
what I
she's
mean by programming, right? We're
Mhm.
programmed and we create these literally these neural pathways around our trauma because we're used to kind of working in this way. And what we really have to do and what I do when I teach people my visualizations and my meditations, it's like let's build a new neural pathway because that one is very well rooted in your trauma and your response, right? Because you are exactly right. You have to do certain things to survive, especially as a child. And so you could do things like, oh, I don't deal with like the trauma in my body. I push it out of my body, or, I block my heart chakra, or, whatever the strategy is, everyone has a different one. And we get to doing that so clearly, and we literally have to rewire our brains. And that is exactly what meditation and visualization does for you. It helps you rebuild new neural pathways to make a different choice.
Interrupt,
Yes,
Why?
interrupting, interrupting the pattern as I
Mm,
Yeah.
interrupt you,
yes,
as I was
yes.
interrupting you. Sorry.
No, well,
Well, that's so
and thank
appropriate.
you, Jay, because this is a really advanced group. And so we speak on a level, and then there's other people that come in and they're not as advanced. One person on the feed said these are finer layers of healing from trauma.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to say yes, and yes, meet yourself where you're at. Right now, I mean, Christine said, focus on that pineal gland in the center of your head and and get out of your frontal lobe. I mean, that alone can help you develop your intuition. It's probably really coming online if you're asking these questions. And
don't worry, you're not
it'll
doing
probably be
anything
by the
wrong.
end of the week, you're going to be like, dang, my intuition is really online.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah,
be writing us and be
I
like,
hope
"Hey,
so.
ladies, guess what?"
I know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
If I,
You'll never
simple
yes.
things.
if
Yeah.
I, if I'm so advanced, how come I feel so retarded?
No, don't feel
I
that
think that
way.
is like the most common thing, Jay. I think that is like, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I think, first of all, that is a key that you are exactly on the right track.
We love
Because I
judging
think
ourselves.
everyone feels that way. And I feel like that sometimes too, right? I've
Yeah.
done so much work and
Mhm.
I'm like, man, if I know all this stuff, what the F am I doing?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it's like, it's just, but you have to look at it as like, oh, well, I'm learning here, right? I'm
Mhm.
learning. And it's so I this phrase always comes up, but when my kids were in preschool, when there was like a kid who was misbehaving, the teacher would always say, "He's still learning to be a good friend." And we'd be like, "Okay, he's like hitting in like other kids, like but," and we're like, "Okay, this is what we say. He's still learning to be a good friend." So I always say we are all still learning to be like humans in a body, right? And
Sure.
we're learning
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
that works. So, if you didn't worry about that or think, am I doing this wrong? That would mean you didn't care. So the fact, Jay, that you're even saying that means
Yes.
that
You
you are
care.
working on it and that you are on the right
Yeah,
track.
Yes.
So I
absolutely.
just want to give
Yes.
you some validation for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, there's many a times where I'm like, use your tools, Leonka, because you're just headed.
Yes, exactly.
You pull them out, girlfriend, because
Mhm.
we're just spiraling.
Right.
And I have to just stand back and be like, all right.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally.
So I do want to do a quick channeling because what I'm getting is that I
Yes.
can do a quick channeling and self-healing for everybody.
Yes,
Um,
let's do
how
this.
much time do we have?
Oh,
So,
20 minutes or so.
yeah.
15, 20.
Was she going to
Okay.
do a
We go till
clearing?
Yeah, I'm going to walk you guys
1:45.
through a visualization.
Let's
Okay.
go.
And Jay, I
Fabulous.
think this will help you, especially, but what I was picking up is it will help everybody, especially around this kind of like narcissist empath connection, right? Because a lot of people talk about that. That's become so popular. And it is like a real thing, right?
Yeah,
Empaths attract
absolutely.
narcissists and they're in our life for, I know it sounds terrible, for beautiful reasons to help us really learn lessons that we're meant to learn. So I'm just going to go into my
You
meditation.
have about 25 minutes, so we're great. And
Oh,
because we
okay.
got started late, we can go a little bit over, so we're good.
Okay. All right. Great. So I'm just going to close my eyes for a second. And then everybody else, if you could close your eyes, it helps. You don't have to. Don't do this if you're driving. Do this if you're sitting. And then I always like to have my feet on the ground, even if I'm lying on a bed, if I could prop my legs up. And if not, just imagine kind of like earth energy running into my feet. And then if you just want to concentrate your energy on your sixth chakra, which again is right in the center of your head, and you can just imagine a beautiful golden golf ball there, about 2 inches behind your eyes. And then you're just going to expand that, like I was saying before, and expand that golden ball about to the size of a grapefruit. And you're just, when you do that, you're pushing out any energy that doesn't belong to you from any people, places, things. Every time we interact with another person or go to a place, we take on a little bit of their energy and we leave a little bit of our energy with those people or those places. So we just want to push all of that out. And then we just want to imagine our grounding cord from the base of our spine all the way down to the center of the earth. And we can even imagine we're giving it a little tug to make sure we're secure. And that really allows us to transmute any energy that we want to, send out of our body that doesn't belong to us and send it down to the earth. And she just transmutes it and sends it back to wherever it needs to go. And we have a very symbiotic relationship with her. So don't feel bad about sending anything down there. That's what she needs. And it's what makes us all more powerful. And then just imagine your aura around you. It's about arm's length apart. And I think this is really important. You hold your arms out on either side. That's around how far it is. But just imagine that aura is equally spaced out behind you, in front of you, above your head, and especially below your feet. And I always say to coat that with a certainty blue. It helps you to define that. And then you're going to just take an imaginary cleaning tool. And I always say you can use a Swiffer or a tiny vacuum or, a duster. And you're going to make it magnetic and you're going to just clean out any debris inside your aura. And it might show up as dust or smudges or different colors. And you're just going to clean it from top to bottom. And you're going to clean out all of that energy that isn't yours. And this is just basic energetic hygiene. And you're just going to clean that out and try to get all of those specks of dust out. And then when you're complete with that, you're going to take that magical cleaning tool and you're just going to throw it down your grounding cord and explode it into gold. And then outside your aura, I always like to put a protection rose. You can put one or many, but you want to create a rose exactly the way you want it to look. You can pick any color, you can pick what it looks like. And this protection rose you put outside your aura and you can make it as large as you want. And it's really a buffer between your energy and anyone else from any people, places, or things, because everything has energy, right? So you're going to use that rose. And again, you can put one rose or several. You can make one gigantic rose. You can make 5 smaller roses around your aura. And this just creates a buffer and it absorbs energy before it gets to your aura. So if you feel like, you have some roses at the end of the day and they're fatigued or they're looking a little tired, you just blow them up to gold and you create new ones, right? And so that's really beautiful. And then I just want you to set the intention to send any energy back that you may have taken on during this week from any people, places, things, especially if you live in or you work in a busy office or you go to really busy places like airports. Those places we pick up tons of energy. So we're going to just send any energy back that wasn't ours. And at the same time, we're going to call our energy back from any place that we left it with any people or any places. And then we're just going to feel our energy right in that sixth chakra. And then we can slowly open our eyes and just say thank you for the body that we inhabited and for this beautiful earth that we live in because it's
Yes.
supporting us all the time. Like I didn't
Yes.
totally did not keep track of the time. So I don't know how long we were
Oh,
doing
we're
this.
good. We're good. I know you brought so we've got another question on the chat, and then also want to talk about your special offer that you brought for everyone to be
Yeah.
able to work with you too. So we
Mhm.
can go to the special offer and then maybe take a couple more or take
More
the question from the
questions,
chat.
yes. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Do you guys want to share the screen? You did a great job, by the way. Uh,
Thank you. Yeah, we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
share the screen. let her
Yeah,
pull it up
so
Yeah,
here
the
and a
I
couple of
wanted to
things in
make,
background.
I'll just give you the background. I wanted to make a really accessible offer that anyone could use. And like I was saying before, like our heart chakra is very much about receiving and about our permission, right? And our heart chakra is what connects our lower body chakras with our, our upper chakras, which are our connection to our divinity, right? And it's really our soul, and that is where the power of manifesting lives. And for many years, I've been teaching what I call as the quiet selling method, and it is for entrepreneurs, but it really applies to everything in life because I say it's about asking for what you want in work, life, and love. So, this is kind of like the mini crash course in that.
Okay.
So, everyone knows, what I'm going to say is everyone listening to this, I feel very strongly knows how to give, right? And is a giver and is probably an
Yes.
empath, right? And
Yes.
we've been trained and we're really, programmed by society to be great givers, right? To give people, all of the things that they need, especially women. But I don't want to discount men at all. But women are really programmed by society to give, 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 which is great. But if we don't balance that out with receiving, it really throws our energy off. So you'll know the signs of it because you get burned out, right? And especially if you're an entrepreneur, this is like more, common than ever. But for anyone who overgives, right? You feel like you can't get in touch with your intuition, right? Just like
Yeah.
Jay was saying, you feel like maybe you're blocking it, you don't know what it is. You might if you do have a business, you might attract clients, but not the right clients, not making the money that you want, right? A lot of people focus on receiving and think, oh, money, but it's everything, right? It's money, it's love, it's support, it's trust, right? And all of those things I'm going to tell you come from inside. They don't come from outside, right? Even money, right? Like you manifest money internally. So it's very much about your programming and how you're receiving it. It's not about anyone else. So that's really important to know. So it's basically, I'm doing a live 2 hour workshop where I'm going to walk you through like that meditation I just did, which I was kind of like channeling from Sirius, but also that's one that I've seen many times with them. But that's an example. So I do a series of visualizations. And what I'm going to do is, if you can attend the live workshop, I will give you the series of meditations. And they're all fairly short, like 10 to 15 minutes, and you listen to them in a row. Right. And they give you the tools that you need. But it is really beautiful to go live because we're able to share and you learn so much from being in a group. This is what my
Mhm.
energy mastery group does every week. We go through these visualizations, but the real power of the learning lives in hearing how other people process it. Because we're never in a room with other people by mistake. We're never in a group. We're never
Yes.
all here. Like we are all here for a
Yes.
reason. The
Yes.
questions that Jay brought up and MK brought up were very relevant for other people who are listening now or are going to listen, guaranteed, right? So here's what we're doing. We're going to identify your top three receiving blocks, right? You're going to have more than three, but we're going to look at your top three. And again, it's going to be other people's energy. We might identify who those people are. A lot of times it's parents, mom and dad. A lot of times it's like, programming, the neighborhood we grew up or the people we grew up with. Or it might be, a religious picture, right? If we went to church or we went to a religious group that programmed us. So we're going to look at your top three. We're going to look at how to clear those, right? We're going to look at your core wound of receiving. This is important. Like I see past lives, I see everything. My gift is I go to the core picture, right? So we're going to look deep, and I'm going to help you identify the core picture because we all see lots of things, past lives, programming, all that stuff. And what I hear from people when I do readings is people will be like, oh, someone else told me about that. Another psychic I worked with told me the same past life, but they didn't tell me what you told me, right? Because I'll see, oh, this is why it happened. And this is the core, and this is how we're going to clear it, right? Because it's not enough just to see it. You want to rewrite the programming, and that's really important. So that's what we're looking at there. We're going to reconnect to your inner knowing, right? All of this naturally helps you get in touch with your intuition, right? That's really key. And then we're going to do a live channeled activation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some beings and kind of tune into what the group needs, which I will not know until we're all there. But I am going to do some channeling during that group. And what I was feeling out was that I will have very specific messages for very specific people. So we're doing that. Again, I wanted to make this like super accessible so everyone can do it. So it's just $49. Again, if you can't join live, you will not only get the replay, which you can walk through, but you'll get a series of short meditations. And by that time, my app should be ready because the goal is that I don't want you to have to listen to it on your computer. I want you to just be able to like lie down and listen to it wherever you are. So my app should be ready by then, and you'll just be able to listen to it right on your phone wherever you are. Of course, you can listen to it on your computer as well. And
Very
then,
good.
oh, another thing you did guys have that. There is an upgrade if you want to do a one-on-one session with me. My sessions are usually $300 an hour. I do, I think a 175 rate for a half an hour, but I'm doing a special deal just for this summit that you can do a 30-minute live reading for me with the workshop for just 149, which is like, I never do that price.
Oh, wow.
I just was feeling like for this group, it would be very like, it seemed like there were some people that it would be really valuable for.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so very,
It's,
very much.
I just
Yeah.
want to make sure you notice the date at the top. I was looking for that. So that's there. And if you miss it, of course, you'll get the replay as well.
Yeah.
But
And I do want to say that is Friday the 13th. And this is part of it. I was like, has to be on that day, which is
I
so
love
funny
it.
because, all these people have these superstitions about Friday the 13th. It's
Yeah.
actually a very magical manifesting day.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
been programmed to believe it's like scary or whatever. And
Oh
with so
man.
many things, we've been programmed to believe something's bad. That's actually so
I
powerful for us.
know.
So that is like the perfect day to do it. So anyone who's like, oh, it's on Friday the 13th. No, that's why it's so good. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a sign. Anytime someone tells you something scary, look behind it because there's probably something very powerful for you there. And that's
Yep.
like, that's a day we could really like really step into our own gifts. It's a very
Love
magical.
that. That's so funny.
We have to do a myth busting show on all the things
Oh
that
my
scare
God,
you, right?
yes.
Wouldn't that be
Right.
fun?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, just to reprogram ourselves, like to get out of
No
that, like,
kidding.
like,
And that's
I mean,
exactly,
Kidding.
yeah, what the
yes,
selling thing is. Like we've literally been
Yeah.
programmed to think sales and money is bad in some
yes,
way. And that's
yes,
like the biggest lie we've ever
yes,
fucking been told, right? That is just like completely wrong. Money is empowering. It's just a symbol,
yes,
right? And we make it what we want. But that's what, like, I wrote a whole book about that has not been published yet. But that's why, like, there's literally an energy out there that keeps us scared of making
yes,
money, especially as spiritual people. And
yeah,
so that's really important. Like that's kind of one of the things that I want to clear for people
yes,
um,
Mhm.
is, that belief around kind of like asking for money, receiving money. But I always say it's never just money, right? When we receive, you're receiving everything
yes,
But
in every
yeah,
part of your life.
yeah,
yes. That's all I can
fabulous.
say is keep
I
saying yes. I'm like, preach, girl, because you were saying you're right on top of it.
we,
I mean,
we've
yes,
we've briefly talked about this before, that there is this collective unworthiness thing going on, and
Yes.
especially in this industry of
Hmm.
psychic mediums and
Yep.
coaches and service providers and
Hmm.
quote solo entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
creativepreneurs, that there's some sort of collective thing going on. We actually literally hear the same words in our heads sometimes.
yes,
Yes,
It's
yeah,
so
I've
weird.
seen it. It's like a fog that's all over all of us, but I will say the information that I've received is this is ready to clear. It's
yes,
almost it's
Yep.
connected to this big fear energy, but it's because at its core, like you were saying, it is a self-worthiness issue, right? But it's tied in with fear, fear of, fear of money, fear of receiving, fear of,
Mhm.
receiving love. And it's all like this fog that like, really as spiritual, people were meant to like break through, right? And
Yeah.
there's enough people now that see it that we can dismantle it. And
Yeah,
we've never been at this time where we can do this. So we are really lucky to be alive at this time
I know.
where there are
absolutely.
so many people seeing it because now we finally have the power to like disperse it.
Yeah. Paula said on the chat, growing up religious, that they were told that money is the root of all evil, and
Yes,
definitely need to
Paula.
rewrite
Yes.
that narrative. And it's like I think that they're really in that scripture area, really talking. It's not about money, it's about greed.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
we're talking about money for the greater good and
right.
contributing and having invitations to come and play and experience, your offer or another person's offer, whatever their intuition, their heart is called for. These are just these cute little invitations for them to play even deeper. And I I guess I
And have
see
an
them that
exchange of
way now.
gratitude. And have an exchange of gratitude
Yeah,
everywhere where, and let me just say this,
definitely.
clearing anywhere where you think that this is not for you, or that there is something rooted nefarious here because there is an offer or an ask or an
Hmm.
exchange, we destroy and create that
Yes,
space.
please.
And take a breath. And so the thing that
Yeah.
I want people to understand is that there's an exchange of energies here. It's a way of saying, okay, grateful to myself, grateful to Christine for putting this together.
Mhm.
I am grateful to be able to have this money to be able to work with her. She has her own bills, her own, she wants to make an app. Think about how many people she can reach with that app, right? So it's a
Mhm.
really, it's a very expansive exchange of energies. And as long as we can start to see things from those perspectives, then we can start to break past that paradigm. So just be super grateful every time you hear an offer, right? Every time somebody, I
Yeah,
know that sounds really
I
weird, but
used to go to these events where they called them pitch fests, and I
Uh-huh.
like the pitch the best because I really felt that it's like, what am I going to get? You know? And so my mindset was often like, ooh, what can I get?
Oh, that's such a great, yeah. Because I
Yeah.
always say selling is really like serving, right? And I'm
yes,
just serving people, right? And
yes,
if I can serve you, wonderful. If you don't want what I'm serving, I'm not
Then don't,
offended. I'm not
don't
yes.
offended
put
at
me
all if
in
it's
a
not right for
menu.
you. It's because there's plenty of people it is right for, and I want
Mhm.
those people. I don't, and that's why I always tell people too. I'm never going to hard sell because I don't want someone who's not really into it, right?
Yes. No, I
And
agree
and I
too.
honestly I attract the most amazing clients. It's just
Yes.
for me, I'm never not happy with the people that I work with. I know it reaches the
Mhm.
exact people that it's meant to.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I love it to be just kind of this light, playful thing. And I mean, I'm sorry if there's a paradigm out there where that's not the case.
Yes, yes, and I have a tip for that. So one
Okay,
Okay.
of the things
cool.
I do is I put amusement roses everywhere in my mind. So especially when I go into a reading, because sometimes I see heavy shit in a reading.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I have to stay neutral, but I have this thing where I put these beautiful turquoise amusement roses in all corners of my room. And then I'm literally like just laugh, like I'm cracking up at stuff that's like probably not funny. But at the, I'm able to like look at it and it totally changes the energy. So anytime you're feeling heavy, even around like asking for money or doing something, you just like put up turquoise amusement roses. It totally changes the energy of how you're looking at something.
That
Thank you
is
for
a
that
cool
tip.
tip. It's
Yeah.
funny. We had a person on Monday that did this meditation with roses,
Oh,
and
good
I
then
thought
you
about that
did
too.
one,
I
and then
thought about
I
that
was
too.
like,
yeah.
"Ooh,
There's a
And
theme.
do you not have
yeah."
roses on your desk there?
Yes,
No,
we
yes, absolutely. Maybe that's what's
Well,
bringing it through.
roses
That's the
represent the
highest
soul in
frequency.
many
Hmm.
cultures.
yes.
And so that's why so many, and I always use the symbol of a rose in my meditations because that's kind of what I was taught. And it's funny, I used to hate roses
I
and
Oh,
did too.
really?
I
I
love them.
love them. I've
And I'm like,
always
oh no,
loved them.
because they're such a universal symbol.
Yes.
Hmm.
There was a question on the chat, and I think that we kind of addressed it, but it did say, how do I reconnect with my gifts? And this was from Irene on the live stream chat on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw that question. So I would say the first way to reconnect is to validate them. Someone taught me, right? Because so many times, especially with people who have psychic gifts, people all know about clairvoyance. Like, oh, I see things, right? Not everyone is naturally clairvoyant. I went to a workshop once and someone was like, figure out what your predominant psychic gift is, right? And for me, it was claircognizance. It was that clear knowing. I like, hey, I
Hmm.
just know shit. And once I started validating that, I was like, and then everything else just started coming in, right? I'm also very clairaudient. And for me, that's like ears, right? And for me, some people think that's like hearing a voice. But for me, it's not always hearing a voice, it's hearing like a vibration. So I'll be walking
Hmm.
behind two people like on the street and I'll hear certain words that they're saying and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's meant for me." I remember one time I was sitting in a restaurant and like two guys at like a burger place and they were like talking about meditation and how it was like the best thing ever. And then I was like walking behind two people and they were like, "Oh my God, I was just meditating." And I was like, "What is going on here?" But it was very clear, right? That it was like these little messages. So just be open to whatever you think predominant gift is, and don't second guess it. Just be like, oh, sure, yeah, whatever. And start validating the signs. For some people, it's like looking at the license plate or the signs around you and being like, oh, yeah, that is, what I needed to hear. But the more you validate it and you believe it, the more you'll receive it because you're literally in touch with your gifts already. Everybody is. It's just that we second guess ourselves or we say, oh, that was a coincidence or, oh, no, that was whatever, like reanalyze it, right?
Yeah.
So that's my tip.
Christine, where are you in the world, in the US?
I am in the Bay Area, right outside San Francisco in
Yeah,
Oakland,
she mentioned
California.
that. Cool, cool, cool.
Oh, yeah. I was like sensing that it was kind of West Coasty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And it's so
There's
funny.
water,
I
and it's
went
kind
to
of interesting.
college in Southern California, and I remember coming up here because my grandfather lives in or used to live in Sacramento, and I remember standing in San Francisco. I still remember this, and I remember knowing, right, getting a download like, oh, I'm
Sure.
going to live here someday, and I was
Mm.
like, I want to live here. There's like earthquakes and all this stuff, and then like 7 years later, I
Mm.
ended up here, and and then I remembered, I was like, oh my God, I knew I was going to end up here. But that's a great example of me. Like I knew
Yeah.
I was going to be here and I totally
Yep.
forgot about it. And then it came back. So I know I'm
Yeah.
meant to.
That was like how I knew I was going to work with you.
I know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things in my
This
life
lady
like
just
that.
standing in front of she was like in front of the whatever doing a business talk and whatnot, and she was just standing there and just talking, and then all of a sudden I heard the words, "You're going to work with her," and then I was like, "I'm going to work with her," and then it was like, "I'm going to work with her."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how that knowing works.
And I
Love
knew
it
it
so
was going to
much.
be in some crazy facet, but here we go. Here we are.
And that's another way to develop these gifts is to, when you do see it, you really bring it in and acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just another way to receive, right? Just
Yeah.
go, here it is.
Yep.
I'm taking it in. It's mine now.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah. What I
create
used to
our
say
lives
to
from our
someone, because
brain.
everyone's like, what do you mean everyone's psychic? And I'm like, well, the only difference between me and you is I believe all of the information I receive, all the gut feelings, all the things, and you don't believe it. I'm like, that's the only difference between me and you. And I think,
Mm,
and they were like, oh, interesting. And I will say, when you first start, right, you don't know how to discern, so you'll make mistakes, and that's okay. But you make those mistakes for a reason, right? Sometimes they are teaching you discernment. And a lot of times people think like the mistakes, right? Like, oh, I dated this guy and he was a narcissist, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that wasn't a mistake. And that wasn't because you didn't have your intuition tuned. That was because there was a really valuable lesson there.
Yes.
mhm.
Yes.
So it's
So
funny, right?
don't mistake things that are like hard lessons of thinking like, oh, my intuition was off.
Yeah.
Your intuition was right on because you
Yeah.
needed to learn that lesson.
I
And
want to
it might not have been pleasant, but
I want to say something. Want to make sure that everyone knew that we will make sure that we get that upgrade onto Christine's a special offer. So if you're not seeing it there, we'll make sure that we're having that. Actually,
it is on the very bottom. I
if you
saw
just
it.
click on the button, it will do the drop down and you will see the upgrade on there. So if you're not seeing it, just click the button that says buy now or accept the offer, and then you'll see the choice if you want to accept her upgrade. So just in case you were kind of a little confused, it is there, and we'll make sure we'll get this on the link and everywhere where you see words. So we say that is the newsletter, on the live stream chat, and on the chat here. Plus, if you're listening to us on audio, you can find it at houthustle.com/Christine. And
Yep.
if you're not on our newsletter, please do get signed up. It's www.houthustle.com. You'll get free gifts right away. Plus, you'll also see how to continue working with Christine and get all of the different replays and everything that all of the announcements that we're giving out for all of the rest of the week.
Yep.
So really easy.
All the replays
Yeah.
are at houthustle.co/replays, but
So if
there
you-
are links to also press in the newsletter.
Yes. And if you want to, please share this information with your friends. There was a lot of really cool stuff that we talked about here with Christine today.
So fun.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to note before we wrap, though, and maybe this will also kind of open the door for your last thoughts,
Oh, Jay said
Christine.
he's going to see her at 6/13/25. Does that mean Jay's
Yay,
going to
awesome.
play? Yay.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks. Oh, man, that sounds fun.
Totally.
I'm like, can we come? Love it. Love it.
when I walked in this morning. I have almost finished my book. It's called The Fourth Wing, and it's this dragon book, right? And
I love
it's
it
like brings in the channeling,
because
it
you were a
brings in,
dragon.
yeah,
That's
it brings
right.
in
Both, yeah.
magic. And, these are under fiction, right? Well, there's
Mhm.
this guy that I've been kind of falling in love with named Adam Apollo, and he wrote a dragon key book, and I just got it from Amazon today. My point is that here are these two dragon books. Are they both channeled? Because if you're even just pulling things from your imagination, how much of that comes from your remembrance and how much of that comes from you just having, playing
I
in the
love
field?
this
What are
question.
your thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So have you guys read A Court of Thorn and Roses?
yeah, I couldn't make it really through it. I kept pushing. It's like supposed to be so good, so
Yeah.
good. So I'm about halfway through, but I've gone to these other books because I'm
Okay.
not
So I'll just
totally
use
into
that
the
as an
first
example
one.
because it's a really
Okay.
popular book.
Yep.
And like if you're not familiar, you can Google it. It's super, super popular. It's
Hmm.
kind of like the new Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
That book was completely channeled. I would say almost
Yes.
all books
Right.
I think
are
so too.
channeled in that way, right?
Yeah.
Like almost all artists, like musicians, they're
Yes.
channeling, right? And
Yes.
when we channel, we're like, everyone channels in different ways. But yeah, that is absolutely information. And like when I read that book, the Court of Thorn and Roses series, I literally got activated. I could feel the information penetrating me. And what we're doing when we're reading books or even when we're writing books, and I love this because I'm also writing a fictional
Yeah.
type book like that. Um, it's like a way to, I don't want to say program people, but activate people, I guess is the word.
Hmm.
You are literally, when you're channeling that information into a book, you're activating. And this has been going on
True.
centuries. So I learned how to read books
Yes.
clairvoyantly so
Yeah.
I can see the programming behind the books. And
Yeah.
what I've seen is so many times in history when this kind of spiritual information has been, not accepted or people could
Yeah.
get hurt
Yeah.
or people could be killed.
Yes.
That's why there's all these stories, right?
That
That's why
makes
there's
sense.
stories and mythology and all of these different things, right? In all different cultures, right? That's
Yes.
the stories in the Bible, the Hindu
Yeah.
stories, all of those stories are to teach you and to activate you, right?
Yes.
If you are channeling information, you might not even know what it is, but you are literally like creating an activation. So I think all books are mostly channeled.
I
I'm very
do.
curious to see now what's going to happen with AI because so many people are using that to write.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's bad. And I think sometimes it gets it right. But I am very curious. But yeah, I think
I
that
agree with you on that
books
too.
and stories are incredibly powerful, as is music. Same way
Hmm.
I've listened to music and literally felt like, oh my God, I just got an activation.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, and that's the power of sound, right? And the power of our eyes visually taking in, the words, like they're activating us. So yes,
Yeah.
Hmm.
absolutely. And I'm so excited you're doing
Gosh,
it.
it's so much is coming together from our first talk. She was saying how we take in so much from our eyes.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
then,
I heard her saying that, and I was
Uh,
like, it's so funny. I've been
I was
having
like,
weird
that
eye
makes total
issues like
sense.
recently, and I'm like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean,
right?
yes. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
even
almost like
from,
is everything's activating us in some way, good, bad, right, wrong, in this 3D world. And here we are unprogramming everything so that we're
Yeah,
open up to this, fifth dimensional frequency access.
yeah,
So
yeah,
cool. So
yeah.
fun.
I know. It's a wild time to be
Mhm.
alive.
yay,
Yeah.
it is. I love it.
Yeah.
Any
Well,
parting words for us? I think we've got
at
about,
about 10 minutes before the next show, you guys were.
No, I mean, like I would just say for everybody, just to really acknowledge, like to me, like the most important thing that people realize is that like everyone has this gift
yes.
of their intuition, right? Was
Mhm.
given to us by divine. It's literally how we are created, and I've looked at this um psychically in many different like iterations, but we are literally like have a spark of divine. You could call it God, you could call it the collective, you could call it the universe, whatever you want to call it is fine. But let's just say it's God, right? There is a spark of God in you, in your heart chakra. that is experiencing, right, everything. And that is your connection to your intuition, your connection to God, to the universe, to everything. We all have that. There is no one that does not have that. Because I always hear people like, well, I think I'm different. No, you are not. Everyone has it. It is literally how you were created. You have that spark. And so it's just like uncovering that, right? It's kind of like peeling back the layers of an onion
Mhm.
and getting in touch with that. And it's anyone can do it. Like if you can visualize, even if you can't visualize, you can get there just through like some basic tools. It just takes like a little bit of practice and some dedication
Yeah.
and intention to get in touch with it. And the more you're in touch with it, the more powerful it becomes.
Yes.
Fabulous, Christine. This was such a joy to connect with
Yes.
you. Thank
Can't
you
wait
Yeah,
to
so
it was
have you
so
much.
great.
back.
It was so great
Yeah.
Yeah.
talking to you. I love it. We're all like the water beings.
Yeah,
I
for
know.
sure.
Mermaiding swimming around together.
That's
One
right.
little giant oneness pool.